welcome to the Sugar and Spikes podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and anyone ready to uplevel their career in their own damn way. I'm Dez. I'm a life coach for women who get that having it all sometimes means having to balance the good and the bad, the sugar and the spikes, and all the in-between.
And I'm Tammy. I'm a therapist, and I'm all about helping as many people as possible to build awareness and make meaningful changes in their lives. I'm also dedicated to diversity and inclusion and increasing access to mental health care.
Between the two of us, we have 4 master's degrees and thousands of hours helping people develop balance, confidence, and clarity on their terms. So let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. I'm Dez.
And I'm Tammy.
And today we're going back to Sugar and Spikes Organic 1.0. I'm trying to think of one of the hipster words for it. Original. Sugar and Spikes original. Which is to say, welcome to another episode of Sugar and Spikes.
That's how we are all the time.
No, so here's the deal. Things have been pretty hectic, pretty heavy, pretty crazy. And a lot of the other stuff that we're doing, we've been super focused on things.
Yeah.
And we've been doing the mental health piece. Mm-hmm. We've been doing interviews. We've been doing a lot of interviews, which interviews are great. Interviews are great. Take a lot of energy.
It seems like we said we were going to step away from interviews, and then it was like, the universe was like, hey, interviews all the time.
Well, we said we were going to step away, and we did for a minute. Like, I actually got some interview requests while we, weren't taking interviews. Yeah. And then the stuff happened. Yeah. Now I'm just like, sure. That's cool.
Oh, I'm not criticizing. I just found it interesting.
Mm-hmm. But for today's purpose, what brings us here today is we're doing another fucking card pull.
Yeah.
We were sitting around, so we were making swag. So coming up, and by the time you guys hear this, it will have already happened.
No, it won't.
By the time they hear this,
oh
yes.
yeah, well, you're right. Yes. Sorry. I remember now.
By the time you guys hear this, it will have already happened. But we were making swag for the Badassery book launch, which, if you haven't checked out the Badassery book, go check it out. This was not sponsored or anything by them. Just go do it. Sugar and Spikes had stuff in there. It was very good. Very manual labor intensive.
Yes.
Fuck, what was I saying?
We were doing manual labor.
Yeah, and we almost didn't record a podcast.
Yeah, no, we almost didn't, because we thought, well, should we? Are we really in a space to? I mean, I know some really difficult things have happened, and so sometimes when that happens, your normal kind of routine can get thrown off, and that's okay, because I think that's a really good example of, I just can't be available for that right now. And so your mental capacity is kind of taken up by other things that you have to work out and work on. And so I think it's okay to take steps back. Yeah. Which is to say, yes, we were not going to record a podcast.
Yeah, we weren't. And then it was and we probably should.
Yeah. But I mean, we thought about it for a hot minute about whether, we really could do something good and what we wanted to talk about. And sometimes when we don't have a lot of direction, but we just want to make one, then we do card pulls, because that can get us thinking and off on a kind of conversation, which, we never stick to one topic. So that's okay.
No, it's better to just be like, welcome to another episode and let's shoot the shit.
Let's just start from there.
You know what? Before we do the card pull stuff, do we want to talk about this past week for a second?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's kind of important, and I thought about throwing it out as a topic. And I was like, I don't know, but now we're here.
But I feel like my cards go along with the topic.
Yeah, so I'm still keeping this kind of guised. You guys know it's been a rough month. It's been a hot month for me. And the thing is, and I think this does truly tie in with the entrepreneur and mental health piece, this idea of knowing when to reach out.
Yes.
Because
shit was building and building and building. And it was a lot of emotions because in the past few weeks, a lot of things have happened. A lot of things that have been very scary, a lot of things that have been very painful, a lot of things that have been very exciting, a lot of things that have been so great.
That's a lot.
So many things have
Kinda
happened.
all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Being pulled this way and that way. And oh my God, how do I deal with all this?
And there were so many times where I told folks, I was just like, I feel like I have emotional whiplash.
Yeah.
And I kept going through the stages. I kept going through the motions. And like, I would let myself kind of feel the things, but I wouldn't get into it. Like, I wouldn't get into the weeds with it. And I feel like that did more disservice than help.
So you felt like you were putting coping around it too soon as like a way to avoid?
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I kept navigating until this past Wednesday. I couldn't. My brother-in-law had made a really good metaphor for it. He was like, it was just like you were just like a steam vent or whatever, where like pressure kept building, kept building, and then you just you blew it. Like,
yeah,
you had to vet, or else like it was just going to go very poorly.
I think that's a perfect metaphor for what happened.
And so yeah, something happened on Wednesday where, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge deal. I definitely have feels about it.
Okay.
But my response to it was like level 10. Tammy likes to use the phrase like, in case of emergency, break glass.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly don't think I have ever cried for so long or had such a strong emotional reaction outside of like a death.
Yeah.
As what happened on Wednesday. And like, if you guys follow me on social, like if you guys follow my Instagram stories, I popped on after like Tammy left on Wednesday, and I popped on a little bit and talked about it. So if you guys aren't following me on social, you probably should, because
you're missing all the stuff.
Yeah. But the thing that I want to talk about is I was texting Tammy for, I mean, honestly, my whole perspective is skewed. Maybe an hour, a couple of hours.
I think like an hour.
And then I was just like, I really hate to ask, can you come over?
Yep.
And the thing is like, I feel like we all have like thresholds where it's like, I got this. And you feel like you shouldn't ask for help. Like, my threshold is I'm either dying or I'm fine.
Okay.
Like,
it's a pretty intense threshold.
I'm either dying or no, don't alter your life, don't do anything. I would, like, objectively speaking, I know I'll be okay. It's okay.
Well, I think if you think about it that way, it's like you're coming up to this cliff, right? And all the way you're coming up to it, even to the very last inch, you got this. But once you go over the edge,
you don't got
it anymore. And I think that can be a really quick transition because, like I said, you think you have it all the way up to where that stops and then free fall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, like, I don't know, that was what I did on Wednesday. Like, I reached out for help, which is something that is hard, and it's hard to know when to do it. It's hard to figure out what to say. It's hard to accept it. And I think, like, as entrepreneurs and business owners and stuff, I don't care how, like, authentic or heart-centered or whatever label you want to use to describe the way you work, it's still hard to ask for help because you feel like you always have to have it together.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to ask for help in the best of times. But when you are an army of one, then asking for help, I think, becomes that much harder and that much more of like, I don't know if I should really be doing this. I think it just puts a whole bunch more kind of stuff on it, on something that's already hard to do and takes a lot of bravery anyway. Yeah.
So that happened, and then Wednesday happened. Lost my shit. The interesting thing was I felt all the things that I'd been pushing off, and then Thursday morning came around, and I felt like a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like completely reborn. I texted Tammy, I was like, I feel like I went through an exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were colors in the world. So
it's like after a big storm, right?
Exactly.
Everything looks amazingly beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And one thing, I think I have mentioned it on one of the podcasts recently. No, I mentioned it to Tammy on Wednesday. This is getting really personal, you guys. That's okay.
It's okay.
I feel like I'm okay with that. We'll
Okay.
continue. I kept telling Tammy, like, I'm sick of waking up sad.
Yes.
And Thursday, after I felt all the things, even though I thought that I was feeling the things, like after Wednesday happened and I actually did, it was the first time in almost a month that I did not wake up sad.
And that's how you know that what happened Wednesday needed to happen.
Was necessary.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, we feel like we can't have those breakdowns. We feel like we can't be fucking human.
Yeah.
Like, even with family and stuff, like, you feel like, no, I'm good. No, I don't want to be a bother. No. Like, it's fine. And, I mean, you've gone through this with, like, your physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's, I'm fine. I'm not fine.
Yeah. I'm in bed for a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know what my point is other than maybe to normalize it a bit.
And also just put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what's going on, and being authentic and real about your experience, right? That idea of not hiding.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, I guess, like, that's also like how we're coming into this episode and kind of reframing it up, like teeing up again.
Yeah.
Let's see. When you guys hear this, the calendar on my wall is June and it's currently July. So let me look at another calendar. When you guys hear it, it'll be the 17th.
Okay.
So
2 weeks.
Yeah, which is damn near exactly a month since everything happened.
Yeah,
Like
since the thing that started it all.
Yeah, since the whole kind of shit show went down.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys have kind of heard it, and that accounts for kind of the sporadic nature in the episode. Like, I can own that. The having to pull content from someplace else, having interviews on days when you normally don't run interviews. The biggest thing, and I think this is one lesson, like something that I've learned or something that I've realized that I really care a lot about, is the idea of like core consistent pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast is one. And come hell or high water, like, something's going to come out. And I talk a lot about the, like, you have to show up to your job. Like, as an entrepreneur, like, you have to show up, because if you don't show up, no one else is going to show up.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. So yeah, last month has been a little weird and wonky. Sorry. I'm not sorry that you guys got some really different content.
No, and I think it's kind of, even talking about it on this kind of platform speaks to kind of what we're all about, which
Mm-hmm.
is authenticity, and this is how it is. And I think this is a really good example and a way of kind of not normalizing, but a way of kind of putting into real life some of the things that we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where we talk about sometimes self-care isn't the luxury things.
No.
Sometimes self-care is routine and what you need to survive,
Mm-hmm.
and reaching out for help when it's really, really difficult, and being authentic in your feelings
Mm-hmm.
and feeling them when you need to, and being able to reach out when times are really difficult. These are all topics that we've covered before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's one thing to kind of talk about them theoretically, but I think all of those things have come to play in this situation that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and how you've had to flex, and how we as a business have had to flex
Mm-hmm.
and decide what's really priority right now, and what can wait, and what
Mhm.
can we put off, and maybe we don't record Friday, maybe we record Sunday, and like how to kind of shift and move
Mm-hmm.
when your mental health really needs to take top priority for the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really hope comes across is things still stand. Like, throughout all of this, I may not have done the best job, but I've been putting myself first,
Mhm.
business second, and my business is still standing.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like it's been a case of regrowth and rebirth, and I'm excited about this next point that we're at. It's been a bit of a needed time.
Yeah.
But there's so much pressure to show up no matter what. And yes, that's true, like for the basics. Also, it is that flexibility that comes with it. Like, it's not about being rigid.
Yes.
It's about how can we make this work given the current situation. I think both you and I do that pretty well because we've worked in community mental health.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is what we got.
This is what we got to deal with.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of learn flexibility through different situations that you're in. And I mean, just to talk about training for a minute, like I intentionally chose training sites that were difficult and challenging to be able to develop that skill in myself. Because I think you can develop it even if you don't have it. And you kind of learn it, like, get tested through fire.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not really thinking things through right now.
No, it makes sense. Like, there are some skills where even if they don't come naturally, they come at you.
Yeah.
And it's figure it out or deal with the
figure it out. It's figure it out.
Yeah.
However you choose to do that.
Figure it out or figure it out.
Yeah.
You choose.
Right? I know. And I also think that the past situation speaks to the power of having support. Someone to lean on, people to lean on, not just one person, but people to lean on, even if it's just one.
Yeah.
Can help see you through these difficult times when you do feel like you have to show up and you have people in your life saying, it's fine, we're going to take a minute. Let's figure out what's 100% necessary and we're going to leave the rest right now.
Yeah.
To help you make yourself a priority when that's needed, you know?
Yeah. So that's the long backstory of why we're just kind of showing up and doing card pulls today, is because...
Well, and the card I pulled was, you're going through some tough shit.
Clearly.
Right? So I think it says, everyone has their turn. Welcome to yours. Get up and handle it.
Yeah.
But I think handling
Thanks for the soft...
I know, soft and cuddly, right? Well, I was thinking about that, right? So I think handle it comes with this image of tough love, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But I think handle it or deal with it can also look like nurturing yourself for a little bit and putting your mental health front and center rather than forge ahead at all costs.
Yeah, and that is exactly what I've learned over the last month, whereas like the last few weeks have been keep doing these hollow things, like keep going through the motions.
Yeah.
And keep going. Like you don't have time to slow down, you don't have space to do it. And in one sense it felt like handling it, right? And it wasn't. Like my version of handling it was processing all of the things that I did not want to feel.
Yeah.
And going through all of those things and really acknowledging it and putting words to a lot of things and like bringing it up and out. Like Amanda Francis does this one cool visualization piece where it's like, think about what's really bugging you. Like, she doesn't talk about it on such an intense level, but I like the idea. And Wednesday really kind of looked like it to me.
Yeah.
Like, think about what's really bugging you, visualize it coming out of you, bringing it out, and then like squashing it. And I feel like Wednesday was very much me like compiling all of the bad feelings and stuff that I had had for a long time, and all the thoughts that I had and all that, and like giving physical form to it, and then being like, and we're done. Like, it was processing.
Yeah.
That was the handling that needed to happen.
Yes.
But for the last few weeks, it was, I'm showing up and I'm fine and time to just power on forward.
Yeah, as you burn yourself to the ground. I mean, I remember talking to you on Wednesday and saying, like, you're like, I don't even know what to do. And I was like, well, maybe the first step is really admitting to yourself how much all of this is affecting you. And you're like, no. I'm like, no, I think you might want to focus on that for a minute. And I feel like you were able to get there and then start to heal a little bit by really like seeing it for what it is and how much it was really
Well,
with you.
it's labeling it, right? And this
Yeah.
is one thing that we talked about, I think, in the depression episode, where like diagnoses can be helpful, like labeling something can be freeing.
Yeah.
And when you came over and you were like, it's a trauma response from abuse, and like said it, I was like, oh yeah, shit. Like, and I mean, that's my clinical knowledge where like all of a sudden I can understand my brain's been like my brain's been really kind of screwed up from things that have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like labels get such a bad reputation.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can be the best, most freeing thing. Like, I'm not saying like play into the victim role of, well, it's abuse or I've been diagnosed this and woe is me, but like they can help. Like, they give you a framework for how to navigate through it and why things are, like, why you're experiencing things the way you are.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, Dez here. I'm just popping in with a quick message for all of you entrepreneurs and side hustlers out there. Are you ready to grow your business so you have real influence so that when you speak, people don't just listen, they actually do something? Do you want to be able to share your message, product, or service in a way that feels truly authentic to you so you can stand out from the crowd? Are you ready to finally be a true leader in your industry? If so, then it's time you signed up for the free Legendary Leadership Challenge. In just 5 days, you will be able to define your leadership style, develop a whole new way to view all the things on your to-do list so you're not overwhelmed, create consistent standout content, increase your community engagement and connections, like real, actual connections, and redefine self-care so you can keep doing all the things you're made to do. If you're ready to rise up as the legendary leader you know you are, then head on over to DesireeW.com and click on the Legendary Leadership Challenge and sign up today. And when you sign up for the challenge, you also get 5 free days to all of the content in the Legendary Leadership Society. Guys, it's nuts. So, if you're ready to learn how to lead your way, take the Legendary Leadership Challenge today.
And, I think that ability to see a situation more clearly, to see reality as it is, not to like it, but to say, okay, I accept that this is happening. I understand that this is happening. I see it for what it is. That's when you can go forward with change, because the thing about change is until you can really see what's happening, you're almost powerless to change it.
Well, and you're clinging to it. Like, your brain's going to screw you over and try to keep you as safe as possible. And that's by not changing.
Like all amygdala all the time.
Yeah, like we are hardwired to stay in any rut that we have because if we woke up today, our brain got a really big signal of whatever you did yesterday, we're still alive, so let's do that again.
Yeah, and we know what to expect, right? Like, we joke a lot about managing ambiguity, and the truth is that ambiguity is incredibly difficult to tolerate, and so people will stay in situations that are, pretty horrific because they know what to expect and they know how to survive it. Because when you don't know what to expect, what you're doing now seems inherently safer, even if it's not the most healthy situation or you're not making the healthiest choices. You know what you're doing. You know how to survive it. You know how to live through it. You know how to navigate it. And so it seems your brain tells you it's a safer place to be.
Yeah. Well, there are 1 or 2 fewer question marks.
Right.
And our brains are lazy things. Like, I remember Davis just being like, your brain is lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
It's not gonna want to work. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
So the point with all of this being, reach out for help.
Yes.
Even if you feel like you got it. Like, it's still fine.
Even if it's just a check-in to say, I feel like I got this. I'm doing okay. Yeah. Here's how I'm doing okay. You're still checking in.
Well, and I was talking with someone else, another really amazing entrepreneur that I know, and we were talking about coaching and everything, and she was like, sometimes just the most basic things can have the biggest impact. So it's not like everyone needs a coach all the time. It's, what does the coach do? check in with you on how's your mindset? How, like, are you doing the things you said you wanted to do this week in your business? Like, just the most basic accountability.
Yeah.
Because even with that, like, your brain's going to keep you safe. Like, if you know you have a different strategy you want to try, I can damn near guarantee you that that new marketing strategy that you're super excited about, it's going to take you 2 or 3 additional weeks than you think, because you're going to come up with all these reasons why you can't roll it out yet.
Yeah. So that idea of that additional perspective, I think, helps you to kind of identify things you may not have thought of. And also to see things in a new way, because we only have our own perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to shift that. But when you bring other people into the mix, they say, oh, have you thought about this? You're like, nope, because I only had my own perspective that is pretty good. That's not to say it's faulty. It's just that's why diversity of thought brings change and growth and progress, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And that, like, not to get off on the whole, like, coaches are so great thing, but that's another reason why having someone that's more objective can really help. Like, I was talking with my coach today, and we were looking at one of my sales pages, and I was telling her about the Facet 5, which is something that I'm accredited to give, that you can only get through people that are accredited to administer it, all that stuff. And she was like, well, what makes it special? And I was like, well, companies like IKEA, Samsung, Toyota, they all use it for, like, their personnel and, like, team training and stuff. And she's like, so why isn't that on your sales page? Like, what makes you, like, you know, like, why aren't you connecting that? I'm just like, oh,
because I didn't think of it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So just, like, things that are there that as soon as someone says it are so clear.
Yes.
And things that make you feel really dumb for not realizing it. Like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's not about finding someone that's going to have the newest, best idea. It's about having resources and connections to be human, to open up, and to, like, space to be willing to be wrong and space to be willing to accept help.
Yeah. Well put.
So,
I mean, that's what I do as a therapist too.
yeah.
A little bit different kind of focus, I guess. But that's what I'm there for. I'm not there to tell them what to do.
No.
Never. That's not my job.
Yeah.
My job is to help them see things in multiple ways, to explore options, to help them maybe ask questions and help them look at things in a new way, and then let them make the decision that's best for their lives.
Yeah.
Right? So samesies.
No, it totally is. And it's one of the things that frustrates me when people are like, I just need to go to a therapist and have them tell me what to do. I'm just like, you clearly aren't going to like therapy. If anything, maybe find, like, a behavioral focused life coach.
Yeah.
But also, if that's what you're looking for, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I know. Because, like, therapists, coaches, we're not the expert on our clients' lives.
No.
I remember, I think I've talked about this earlier on the podcast, maybe. I'm sure I have. There was a professor at school who said, you know, people who are in your shoes as students, like, they don't want to be the expert. That makes them incredibly uncomfortable. But you have to get right with the idea that, yes, you're not the expert on your clients' lives, but you have expertise to offer.
Yes.
And you have a skill set to offer to help them know themselves better, to help them improve their lives. And that still doesn't make you the expert on their life.
Yeah.
So you always want to empower the client to make their own decisions.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So someone messaged me the other day, like, well, what type of clients do you work with for business coaching? And I was like, really? I work with anybody. I work with brick and mortar folks. I work with like, I've worked with bloggers that have wanted to monetize. I've worked with subscription box folks, coaches, of course. Like, I'm really broad in the business clients that I take on. And the thing is like, I'm not an expert on their business. I'm not. And that's why I don't niche down, is because I'm not claiming to be an expert on this specific type of coaching or an expert on small business retail or anything like that. No, I'm saying I'm an expert in developing strategies, in figuring out what's working. I'm an expert in guiding things into like bringing that to focus in basic strategies that are more nuanced than here are the 10 steps to
go do these 5 things and check back in with me.
Yeah, here are 10 steps to start a successful subscription box. No.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not going to look the same.
Because I think the other thing I think about is like with our business, like I remember us talking one time, I'm like, why should we do things the way everyone else is doing them? That doesn't speak to who we are as people.
Yeah.
Like just, and you were like, well, some of these things are there for a reason. And I'm like, okay. And that may be true. And we don't want to be formulaic about it. Right.
Well, and I've clearly grown as a person because I was talking with someone else the other day and I was like, the most dangerous thing you can do in a business is to continue doing something purely because, well, it worked before.
Oh, I wasn't saying that you were saying that.
Yeah.
But like, I think we challenge each other well in terms of like devil's advocate. And I think the point you were making is that like these steps have been shown to work for many people. And I'm like, but we're not many people.
Yeah.
Like we're us. We're individuals. We want to do things the way we want to do them. And I think it came about because you were talking about how you didn't want to do this one piece because it didn't feel authentic and real to you. And I'm
sales
like,
calls.
Thank you. I didn't know if you want. You were like, I don't want to do sales calls. I'm like, then don't do them.
I fucking hate sales calls and I refuse to do sales calls.
Right. And I'm like, then don't do them. And you're like, well, but I keep being, encouraged. And like, this is the way to do
People
things.
keep telling me to do sales calls.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I've done 2, hated them, felt skeezy, haven't done sales calls, and we're still standing.
Right?
So.
And I think that, and I was like, then don't do them.
Yeah.
Like I said, make it sound so easy. Just don't do them.
And that's
but that speaks to us wanting to do things in ways that feel authentic and real for us. I'm sure there are people that are amazing at sales calls and should definitely be doing them. I just know that we are not those people.
Well, and I feel like that type of thing, and it was a coach who was telling me to do that, and that type of experience separates out the true like development expert, like business development experts versus this has worked for me.
Yeah, anecdotal evidence.
Like if there's a coach saying this is the way, like this is the easiest and quickest way to do it, and they keep pressing it, then they don't know what they're talking about. Because if I had a client say, well, I really don't want to do sales calls, I'd say, okay, I wouldn't keep talking about it for another 30, 40 minutes.
I was thinking about that too while you were talking, and I'm like, if somebody brought up something to me, or let's say I said that to a client, I wouldn't, but let's say I did. You should really do sales calls. And you say to me, well, I don't want to do that. My first question would be like, oh, how come? Well, that really doesn't feel authentic to me, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, we're going to move on from that. That's obviously not a good choice for you. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be like, well,
there's the manipulative piece where they're like, well, it's fear. And I'm just like, I don't care if it's fucking fear. I've addressed fear in a lot of ways. I'm like,
and you know how I feel about saying like, it's just anything.
Yeah. Well, it's,
like an oversimplification of the things.
Yeah, oversimplify. Like there's a difference between being scared about something and having it be inauthentic.
Yeah, like yes, I don't like using the phone, but that's not the reason I don't want to do it. The reason I don't want to do it is because it feels skeezy and gross, and I feel slimy, and I feel inauthentic and dirty when I do it. Well, then that's probably not a good option for you.
And it's my belief that with everything else that we do, people know, like business owners know if like we're their cup of tea or not.
Yeah.
Like I got a message from somebody the other day that was like, I know one day I'm going to work with you.
Nice.
And I've never talked with this person before. It felt like it's just, there are ways to build a business that aren't what other people have done. And yeah, I feel like now we're just
saying how right we are.
I mean, that's why we made a podcast, right?
Guess we're right now. But I think also that gives people some things to watch out for too. Like you don't want to just shut it down if the coach maybe like stays on it for a minute, but if they keep pushing it when you've emphatically said no, then, consider that. What does that mean about them? What does that say about them? What does that say about how they're taking in your desires?
Or if they can't tell you why, that's another thing I've been thinking about. So with the sales call conversation, it was because that's what I've seen, and that goes back to the most dangerous thing is because that's what's worked before. That's not a great reason for doing something. Today I was talking with a different coach, because this was the other one was a while ago, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Just so folks aren't getting confused.
Oh, yeah.
Or in thinking I have 5, which there's nothing wrong with having multiple coaches. Anyways, I digress. I was talking with someone that I'm currently working with.
Yeah.
And she was giving me very clear, like, consulting level instructions of here's what you want to do and here's why. And for one, nothing like immediately made me like want to freak out. But it was also the why was beyond the because this is how it's done.
The parental equivalent of because I said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like one example was shifting the picture on my homepage, and I have a couple pictures on like my work with me page that don't strike me as professional as the one on my homepage, but the coach that I was talking with today was like, the thing is anyone can stand in front of a colorful wall. Like, that's fine. But these pictures, like, they're pictures of me in a library.
Okay.
She was like, those are curated brand. Like, that speaks so much more.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah.
So it helped you see things in a new way.
Yeah. And like I said, there was a deeper reason behind X, Y, and Z. Also, those pictures are of my library, so it is authentic to me.
True.
So it is my brand.
Yeah.
My brand.
Well, and even if after all of that, you were still like, you know what, I think I'm going to leave it. It would still be your decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So ultimately the decision is up to you, but our ability to change our mind when we find out new information, you're like, oh, I didn't think about it in that way before. Okay, I'm going to change it. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, yeah, things to watch out for. Folks that say, just do it like this. Like in one-on-one stuff. And that's one thing that's really hard to understand because the 5 ways to do this thing is super common for like freebies and stuff. That's because it's simplification of everything, right? Like we're not talking about application to things.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's one important thing. Like, don't think that because someone has the 10 steps too that they're not good.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. It's if you're in like a group setting or if you're doing like a one-on-one with them, it's maybe a yellow flag.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes down to because I said so or any sort of that,
any variation thereof,
like maybe it's time to reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, really goes back to why we started It goes back to why we started the podcast.
Yeah.
It goes back to why we started the business is because, like, in the entrepreneur world, it's so easy for folks to show up use emotional manipulative tactics and take entrepreneur money.
Absolutely, it is.
And folks deserve better than that.
They do. You deserve better.
Yeah, like people that actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, which goes back to you. I mean, we talked about something earlier this week about the idea of legit coaching.
Yeah.
And, like we have expertise. We're here to share it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hoarding it. We want you to have it. We want you to be successful and know what you're doing. And we want to help.
Well, that's the thing. Like my coaching style, the way we work with like consulting clients and stuff is it's very much a team. Like we're coming to the table with our expertise. I'm coming to the table with mine. Clients are coming to the table with theirs.
Yep.
And then we work our magic and it turns into something neither of us could have like thought it would be.
Better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a completely unintentional sales pitch.
I didn't mean for it to be a sales pitch at all.
We're passionate about what we do and there's value. Like, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of other good content. I'm just saying be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I love to help. I want people to do well. I have enormous amounts of empathy for folks. And so, like, our intentions always come from a good place.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I think we're good for today.
I think so.
Cool. All right. We will talk to you guys later.
Take care, friends.
Bye. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. If you guys like what we're doing, please subscribe, leave a rating, share it with your friends. It would mean the world to us. If you're not a huge fan of what we're doing, maybe share it with someone you think may like it. If you want to keep up to date on all of the Sugar and Spike shenanigans, get the behind-the-scenes tour of life and business as a millennial female entrepreneur, then follow me across all the social medias. I'm Dez W, Ms. MBA, DEZWMSMBA, across all the platforms, your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams. I'm there, same name. And don't forget, if you're ready to rise up as a legendary leader, you know you are, then head on over to DesireeW.com and sign up for the free 5-day Legendary Leadership Challenge. Also, I want to thank Forget the Whale for use of their song Move Along as our theme music. And guys, remember to stay unavailable for fuckery.